Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh and salam sejahtera. Okay, this is part 2 video for chapter 6, IT governance. In the first video, we have covered these two agenda, which is demand, cheap yet strategic IT, and IT governance, who decide what. So in this video, we are going to cover the other two last agenda, a lever for making IT frugal and strategic. And the last one is linking governance to architecture. So as I described in the first video, okay, demand cheap yet strategic IT is about how you as non-IT manager together with IT can manage the demand of your company that want a cheap IT solution but able to help the company to achieve the business goals. Okay, the second one, IT governance, who decide what. You have learned about how you as non-IT manager be part of IT decisions on what IT to be accomplished in order to support your company business operation. Okay, so in this video, okay, you are going to learn about a lever for making IT frugal and strategic. Okay, frugal here means economical or save cost. So this agenda expect you to understand how to optimize the IT. Okay, there are something need to be trade off in order to gain something else. Okay, so the last one is linking governance to architecture. The objective this agenda is to make you understand on how to match between the governance with the IT architecture. Okay, so you can scan the code to answer quiz 1. Okay, this is the last slide appear in the first video. It is about IT governance. Have to make 3 classes of IT decisions, which are decision for IT infrastructure, decision for IT apps, and decision for data asset. Okay, the first one is IT infrastructure. This is where the IT governance will be given decision rights to decide what the IT infrastructure must accomplish for the company. Okay, the second one is IT apps. The IT governance will be given decision rights to decide what business objective and IT apps must accomplish. So the last one is data set. The IT governance will be given decision rights to decide what data assets of the company must accomplish. So as I promised, in this video, we will zoom in on each class of IT decisions to see how non-IT involved as part of IT governance to make IT decision. Okay, we start with IT governance. As I mentioned earlier, IT governance shall make IT decision on 3 things, which are IT infrastructure, IT apps, and data set. So for IT infrastructure governance, it refers to who are responsible for deciding what IT infrastructure must accomplish. Okay, whether IT units or line function, which is non-IT, or both. So before we decide who will be responsible for the IT infra, I think we need to understand what IT infra is all about. Okay, when we talk about IT infra, it is actually all about IT hardware and equipments that make the foundation of IT apps and data. Okay, for example, IT network, servers, storage, all these are falls under IT infra. And one more thing that you should understand is that all software that are required for IT infra to perform are also falls under IT infra. Yeah? For example, a software for network management, database software, storage management, they are also apps, but they are not business apps, right? So I hope you can understand this and do not confuse with IT apps. Okay, because we will discuss about the IT apps later. Okay, IT infrastructure serves the entire company as a technology foundation that integrates all business apps together, right? And it is not unique to individual line function. Why? Because every line function has its own requirement and might be different with others. Okay, for example, human resource department may requires low performance computing servers and low capacity storage compared with marketing department, which may requires high performance computing servers for doing market analysis, right? IT infra is costly necessity and not differentiator. It means that no matter how the company must allocate some cost, whether it is low or high, it is a necessity. Okay. And one more thing is how much cost you allocate to IT infra. Actually, it doesn't give any different with other companies. Okay, IT infra cannot make the company become different with other company. Okay, that's what differentiator mean. IT infra demands frugal adequacy. It means that the IT infra that you are going to accomplish must be economic and reliability. These do matter for the IT infra. Okay. The last one is IT infra shall not be decentralized. Why? Okay, firstly, because usually we will get a piecemeal decision for each line function. Okay, this piecemeal decision by different line function would aggravate the IT infra complexity. Aggravates mean make worse. Okay. Secondly, it makes IT apps harder to tweak, meaning that the IT apps would be harder to be implemented. If you let the non-IT to decide on the infra, then the potential of the business apps not functioning is very high because IT infra requires IT specialists to decide on what type of infra suitable for the business apps. Okay, so the third one is unjustifiable spiral cost, meaning that the IT infra cost would be unjustifiable because the judgment was made by unauthorized person. Okay, but the centralization demands business inputs too, meaning that the line function just provides the operational needs and the rest will be settled by the IT unit. So for IT infrastructure governance, IT unit is responsible for making a decision that we call this centralization IT infra. Okay. Okay. Then the question arises: how centralized should infrastructure be? Okay. How good is good enough, and how reliable and responsive is IT infrastructure for line function? All these questions should be answered by non-IT managers. Okay. Because the higher the reliability, the higher the cost. For example, increasingly reliability from 99% to 99.9% will double the cost. Yeah, okay, if you refer to Netflix, okay, you will find that Netflix streaming services target is 99.99% reliability. Okay, you will also find that most commercial website and enterprise systems target are 99.999% reliability. But for internal system for corporate, they commonly put at 99% reliability. So in perfect technology, Greece innovation. Okay, for example, landline for smartphone engineered for 99.99% reliability. Okay, over investment creates sunk cost barriers to adopt new infrastructural innovations, right? Okay, I think that's all for government of IT infrastructure. Uh, Now we move to IT apps governance. Okay, what is IT apps governance? IT apps governance refers to who are responsible for deciding what IT apps must accomplish. Okay, it is either IT units or line function, which is non-IT. IT apps for business must uniquely tailored to various line functions, meaning that the IT apps decision must be based on the business requirements of the line function, which are tailored to their activities, to their business processes, and also to their problems. Okay, this includes customer-facing apps, okay, production support apps such as supply chain, logistic, and warehousing, and business support apps. Okay, for example, accounting and payroll. Okay, for IT apps, responsiveness to business needs matters more than economy. Okay, a clumsy apps decision blunt execution of strategy, meaning that any decision made that is not tailored with the business requirements will weaken the company's ability to execute its strategic moves. Okay, the IT apps decision actually draw online functions business knowledge of business processes, which is meaning that it based on the business function includes the business activities and also business problems. Okay, centralization of IT apps decision can disconnect apps from business needs. Okay, it is also can slow down the IT decision and make them less likely to deliver the business benefit. Um, this is because they lost focus on the business value. Okay, but decentralization demands IT unit knowledge of total IT portfolio, meaning that decentralization requires line function to have a total knowledge as IT unit if they implement a total decentralization. Okay, usually a line function only has a part of IT knowledge, and therefore they still requires input from IT units. Okay, okay. Now, the question raised for IT governance: how decentralized should apps governance be? Okay, uh, decentralization of apps governance is depending on the non-IT managers. Answer to this question, okay, which is number one: which IT capabilities should be firm wide? Okay, if we make it the IT capability firm wide, we are stretching the apps across multiple functions. Okay, and also forcing centralization of IT app architecture. What is more important? Okay, integration or functional autonomy. Okay, you have to bear in mind that if we choose the integration, it means that it is toward centralization, and if we choose functional economy, it means we are choosing decentralization. So the choice must match your company or firm strategic aspiration. This is the first question that you as a non-IT manager has to answer. Okay, the second question is which business processes should get IT dollars? Okay, in other words, which unit or department that we must allocate money for IT spends. Okay, top performers are rarely the biggest IT spenders. Okay, which means that it does not mean that the department or unit that perform most requires the most money for IT. Okay, uh, the IT governance must extract more business. More business value by spending IT dollars on the right things. Okay, This is what you have learned in IT payoffs, right? You have to do cost benefit analysis and priority. So business goals define rights. This is your guide, and always choose the high potential of business processes that direct you to achieve your business goals. And of course, everything must begin with crystal clear business goals of ITFs. This is one of the key success that should be given as a top priority. Okay. Okay. Data governance. Uh, Data governance refers to who has the authority and accountability for decisions about what your firm's data assets must accomplish. It is whether IT unit or, again, line function, which is non-IT. Line function activities both generate and use firm's data, which mean that they are better suited than IT unit to make a direction setting decision about data assets. Okay. Data governance is not same with the data architecture. Okay. Uh, it is not the same as IT infrastructure and IT apps, where we can link them direct to IT governance. It is trickier than infrastructure and apps governance because you can't directly govern the data. It is rather business unit preferences about data influence how the IT unit executes apps and infrastructure decision. Okay, so you have to bear in your mind that data governance is about who decides how data will be organized, not about whether the data is centralized or decentralized. The way we govern the data is not the same as we govern IT infrastructure and IT apps. So the decision for data governance is decentralization. Not IT unit will do the decision. Okay, the question for data governance: how centralized should data governance be? Okay, it depends on non-IT managers. Answer to the three questions. Number one is what data is needed faster. Okay, um, what data you need it immediately. What data does your line function need instantaneously rather than archival or record keeping? Okay, what big data streams are not worth capturing at all? The second question is firm-wide versus local data. Okay, it means that what data should be local, what data should be firm-wide. Okay, for example, the data should be within a line function or geography. What fragmented data needs integration for firm-wide decision. Okay, the last one is a stewardship. Okay, which line function will be steward of what data? Who has what access privilege? Who can access the data? Okay, Intel's responsibility for preventing errors, which is quality, meaning that stewardship bears the responsibility of ensuring the quality of acceptable data, which is best done by avoiding errors rather than fixing it. So non-IT manager must answer all these questions before any decision can be made. Okay. Okay, now we are piecing together overall IT governance. Neither centralization nor decentralization dominates the governance of IT infrastructure, IT apps, and data. Okay, we must individually choose for each class of IT assets. Or decide on the governance structure appropriate for each of the three classes of IT assets, whether it belongs in centralization, which is IT unit, or in the decentralization, which is the line function. We can simultaneously economize infrastructure and tailor apps to line functions by governing them differently. In other words, Syncing IT requires giving the IT unit some decision rights and taking away others. Okay. Um, in other words, some decision rights we give to IT units and some decision rights we give to line functions or other business units. Okay, this diagram just want to show how useful IT governance as a lever to balance the decision between IT infrastructure and IT apps. Okay, the diagram summarize the different combinations of apps and infrastructure governance option available. As we can see, the ideal combinations is cell4, okay, which is the shaded box, sorry, where the line function drive the app's decisions and the IT units drive the IT infrastructure decision. With these combinations, the results that we will get is simultaneously economical and synchronized. IT governance is a powerful lever for achieving both economical and synchronized. Any other combination will make IT more expensive than necessary, or it will make the IT unsynchronized. Okay. Okay, this diagram summarizes the crux of the idea. Okay, just the more decentralized a class of IT asset is, the more its governance should be decentralized. As you can see in cell 1. Okay, although decentralizing apps architecture gives apps the autonomy to evolve with changing business needs, we must simultaneously decentralize how we govern our apps to leverage this autonomy. Okay, in simple terms, we centralize the IT apps and we centralize the IT governance for the apps. Okay, look at the cell 3. Shows that we must also centralize how to govern the IT infrastructure to leverage the advantages of its centralized architecture, meaning that we must match it. Centralized IT infrastructure should be centralized governance. Okay, cell 4, this is not good. Okay, if we centralize the governance of decentralized apps, meaning that IT unit over control the apps, and this will restrict the app's evolvability. Okay, cell 2 shows that the decentralizing the infrastructure governance. This will result IT unit under control it. For example, we are replacing firm-wide decision making about IT infrastructure with numbers of line function decision making. Okay, non-IT manager make a decision. This will result conflict of IT infrastructure decision making and will make the company chaos. So the conclusion is we must match the IT architecture of what it is governed. If the architecture is centralized, IT governance also must be centralized. That's all. Okay, you can scan the QR code to answer quiz 2. Okay, in summary, we recap back what we have learned. The first one, IT governance means who decides what about IT. It is implemented by explicitly allocating IT decision rights to the IT units or the line function, which is non-IT. And the decision rights is authority plus accountability. And IT governance spans all IT infrastructure, IT apps, and IT data. Second one is IT governance. Is a secret as a secret source, which is lowers IT costs and simultaneously makes IT a catalyst for business agility. Okay, we govern the IT infrastructure to lower costs by centralizing its governance. We govern IT apps to bolster business agility by decentralizing their governance. And federated governance, good only in theory. So we should avoid it. The third one is non-IT contribution focus. Okay, meaning that non-IT managers contribute primarily in setting the direction for what IT should accomplish. So with all that, I hope you can really understand what you have learned. And you as a non-IT person should know how to govern the IT matters and able to help your company to achieve the company business goal. That's all. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and salam sejahtera.